It's deeply shocking that with virtually no consideration in the House of Commons, a new clause has been inserted into the Crime and Policing Bill, which would permit abortion up to and even during birth. Please join with me and many others in opposing and also stopping this grotesque measure. Last month, a routine bus journey to Westminster left me with a broken back, which has prevented me from speaking in Parliament. But in all conscience, I must speak out through this medium about a measure which is so extreme that I would be failing in my duty as a parliamentarian if I failed to raise my voice and to voice my concerns. Most people have no idea that the United Kingdom already has an abortion law far more extreme than most in the Western world, let alone that we're about to extend that law even further, or the manner in which that change is happening. The Home Office bill, which peers like me are now considering in the House of Lords, is a hefty piece of legislation. The Home Secretary brought it forward to deal with antisocial behaviour, with knife crime, with terrorism and policing powers. One thing it is not about, or wasn't supposed to be about, is abortion. And to make matters worse, this amendment that was belatedly inserted was passed after just 46 minutes of backbench debate in the House of Commons. I repeat, a desultory 46 minutes of backbench debate. This is no way to consider a measure which has major ethical, social, and medical implications. After all, the supreme human rights issue is the very right to life itself. As a former member of the Commons, I was really shocked that some MPs who wished to express their concerns were unable to speak, that the amendment was added to the bill despite there having been no public consultation and no impact assessment to consider its likely consequences, nor was the proposal considered by a select committee of Parliament, nor was this extreme proposal included in any manifesto at the last general election. What is particularly shocking is how the proposal came to be included in the Crime and Policing Bill with little public awareness or media coverage, hijacking an unrelated bill to try to force through what would be the biggest change to abortion law in this country since the Abortion Act in 1967 is no way to make law. This is not an appropriate or responsible way to make good law, particularly on such a sensitive and complex subject. Parliamentarians have a duty to make good law that is workable and which protects the vulnerable. This responsibility demands that draft legislation receives robust scrutiny, and that MPs and peers need to be aware of any unintended adverse consequences of proposals that they make to change the law. The unintended consequences of this abortion up to birth amendment would mean that rather than protecting women, they would be placing women at greater risk, to say nothing of the implications for unborn babies, even at very late stages of pregnancy. Be clear, in this country, abortion is already permitted up to 24 weeks, almost 6 months into pregnancy, and beyond the point when increasing numbers of babies are able to survive outside the womb. The supposedly limited grounds for abortion in the Abortion Act are now interpreted so loosely that abortion is essentially available on demand up to this point. Our time limit is double the average upper time limit for abortion among countries in the European Union. That average is around 12 weeks gestation. Many people are also unaware that over 250,000 abortions now take place in this country every single year. It's estimated that nearly 11 million babies have been aborted since the Abortion Act was passed in 1967. 11 million. Our abortion laws are already extreme. They're out of step with other countries and far different from what members of Parliament were told when they were voting for David Steele's Abortion Act, passed nearly 60 years ago. And now they want to go even further by decriminalizing those who perform their own abortions for any reason and at any time, all the way up to and even during birth. This is radical and disturbing, a proposal which would endanger women by removing any legal deterrent against performing dangerous late-term abortions at home, and likely lead to an increase in viable babies' lives being ended. Imagine the distress, practicalities, and dehumanization of these self-administered procedures. Note, too, that the proposal would even mean that it would no longer be illegal for these abortions to be carried out on sex-selective grounds. Significantly, there is no demand for this kind of law change. Polling has found that only 1% of women support abortion up to birth. The majority of the public favours abortion remaining within the criminal law for abortions after the current time limit, and only 15% were found to disagree. A poll in June found that decriminalising abortion to full term was bottom of 20 possible political priorities for voters. There's public support for a reduction in the abortion time limit, rather than essentially making it redundant by removing any sanction against self-induced abortions at any stage of pregnancy. Those who would argue in favour of Clause 191 of the Crime and Policing Bill, which would introduce abortion up to birth, insist that this measure is needed because 6 women have appeared in court in recent years in relation to illegal abortions. Well, while we need to ensure that the law is implemented with proportion and compassion, that's a tiny number in light of the 250,000 abortions which take place each year, and it's utterly disproportionate to push through such a radical social change on that basis. When the Abortion Act was passed, MPs were told that abortions would be rare. Those who said otherwise were dismissed as scaremongering, and yet they were later proven to be correct. When the abortion pills by post scheme was introduced, MPs and peers were told that that would be safe. At the time, our warnings were dismissed. But what has happened? In 2023, Carla Foster was found guilty of aborting her baby at 32 to 34 weeks gestation after receiving abortion pills by post from the British Pregnancy Advisory Service, the country's largest abortion provider, whom she had told she was only 7 weeks pregnant. Last year, Stuart Warby was convicted of spiking a woman's drinks with pills obtained under the pills by post scheme and inducing an abortion against her knowledge and her will. The common thread here that needs to be addressed is that the pills by post scheme, introduced as a temporary measure during COVID, should be ended. Well, its continuation is supported by only 4% of women who were polled. 2/3 of women also want to see in-person consultations with a medical professional reinstated before abortion pills can be obtained, and they are right. This would allow accurate gestational age checks to occur, as well as an assessment of any health risks or the risk of coercion. For this reason, I'm supporting Baroness Philippa Stroud's common sense amendment to the Crime and Policing Bill in the House of Lords that would restore such in-person appointments. I'm also supporting Baroness Rosa Monckton's separate amendment to remove the abortion up to birth clause altogether from the bill. We are on the verge of an extreme law change, which is being passed with little public awareness, which commands little popular support, and which would have catastrophic consequences. We need to wake people up to what is being proposed and the cynical way in which it's been introduced into a government bill. If we fail to raise our voices now, if we fail to rouse the conscience of the nation, both women and unborn babies will be the victims. Both lives matter, and we should be unhesitating in saying so. We are a civilized country, not a barbaric one. Introducing abortion up to birth should have no place in a civilized society. It is abhorrent. Clause 191 must be rejected, and at the very minimum, I hope that our new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, will remove this clause so that we can make progress on all the important measures which the bill was designed to address. Please join with me and many others in voicing your opposition, in helping to stop this barbaric measure from becoming law.